Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome. We're just adding everybody to the group now. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We're so excited to have you and to talk to some of our alumni about what they're doing now that they've graduated from the EPL program, learn a little bit more about their careers and kind of how the EPL program helped to get them to where they are now. So just to introduce myself, my name is Emma and I use she, her pronouns. And I am the graduate program coordinator for the Education Policy and Leadership program. I recognize some of you, so hello, nice to see you. And we have prospective students as well as current students here with us today, which is really exciting. So really excited to get started. Our other co-facilitator is Miss Bailey Haynes. So Bailey, would you like to introduce yourself? Say hello.
Sure. Thanks so much, Emma. Hi, everyone. My name is Bailey. I also use she, her pronouns. I'm the graduate assistant for the EPL program, as well as a current student in the on-campus modality. Grateful to be here and grateful for you all for being here as well. And we're excited to see what this night holds.
Thank you so much. And we also have our program director here with us, Dr. Jacobson. Would you like to say a quick hello and welcome everybody to the group?
Yeah, I'm really excited about tonight, and I want to thank Bailey and Emma for organizing this great event. I want to say hello to our current students and prospective students, and then welcome back our fabulous alum who are just brightening my night by seeing your faces. I cannot wait to hear about the journey that you've been on. When I talk about applicants, and to our program, I oftentimes find that people are applying because they're trying to figure out their role in the education space. And they come to us and they have these great thoughts and they get challenged by professors. And my favorite question that I ask in the last class of the program is, how have you changed? And it's always something really profound and unexpected for folks. And they're all trying to figure out what they're going to do to make an impact on families, on students, on communities, to change society, which is really our mission. And these folks exemplify that, and I'm excited to have you speak with them and hear about their journeys. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you so much. So we only have an hour, so definitely want to get started as soon as possible. So I would love to start off by asking our panelists to kind of briefly introduce yourself. If you could introduce, your name, what year you graduated, what program modality you were a student in, and then talk a little bit about your current occupation, that would be wonderful. Let's see. Nicole, do we want to start off with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Baum. I graduated in spring 21. And while I was in the on-campus modality, I spent a lot of time with my classmates over the computer because of the pandemic. What I'm doing now is that I'm an analyst for DCPS. I work on the school mental health team. And I specialize in making sure we're staying compliant, talking to providers in schools, making sure they're aware of, database changes or anything with how we're communicating, how we're doing in schools. And I think that's it. I think next I see Ellie on my screen.
Yeah, sure, I'll go. My name's Ellie Cash. I use she, her pronouns, and I graduated from the in-person modality in spring 2020. So I am your go-to person for how to switch careers and jobs in like the worst situation ever, because I managed to do it. But my official role is Senior Policy Associate at Education Council. For lack of a better term, I am consultant for an education mission-based, equity-based consulting firm here in Washington, D.C. I work across early childhood, K-12, higher ed, and the federal landscape. So I currently work in a lot of space, but my background is in teaching. I taught 8th grade math for DCPS. And I will pass it to Jamila.
Thanks, Ellie. Hi, everyone. I am Jamila Adams. I use she, her pronouns. I graduated in spring 21. I also was a part of the on-campus modality, but we had to unfortunately move to virtual. My current occupation, I am operations manager at College Track, which is a education nonprofit for college access and career here in DC. We currently serve Southeast DC students, particularly from low income or first generation. And as a first generation college graduate 2 times, the work that I'm currently doing in the part of Southeast where I am from means the world to me. So I'll pass to Jeffrey.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Taylor. I use he, him, they pronouns. I am a spring 2021 graduate of the Education Policy and Leadership program here at AU. I am also a spring 2019 graduate from Howard University, where I have a bachelor's degree in political science. I am a part of the on-campus cohort that transitioned to hybrid, that got to walk at graduation at the last minute under some restrictions. So I would say we were hybrid, but you know, we made it through. And I am currently serving as a chief coordinator in the Office of Schools for DC Public Schools, particularly supporting our elementary division. And essentially what that means is I am the operations POC for our Office of Schools, directly supporting our Chief of Schools, Kim Jackson. And I will pass it to Caitlin. Did you go? Am I paying attention? Okay, Caitlin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Kaufman. Similar to a couple other folks on here, I graduated in spring of 2021, started out on campus and switched to virtual due to the pandemic. So I work on the Hill. It's kind of a make your own title here, but I have a split role where I'm a scheduling and operations coordinator / legislative aide for a congresswoman. What that means, I'm doing a little bit of everything. On the one hand, it is similar to lesson planning. You have a plan for the congresswoman's day and it completely changes. On the legislative side, covering, if I can get this right, education, labor, women's issues, family and children's issues, poverty, and social security. So it's really great to see the impact that has on constituents and bills that are coming up. So excited to get to know you all better tonight. I will pass it off to Marissa.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm part of the same cohort that I feel like the previous people are just part of, graduated in May 2021, supposed to be in person, turned out being computer. I'm still teaching, actually. I think I'm like the one person left in our cohort. I've been teaching for 9 years with DCPS, and I am an ELL teacher. I do plan on transitioning out of the classroom, and I've been saying that for probably 4 to 5 years now. But now I really feel like next year's my last year, but I don't know. Check in with me in a year, we'll see.
Thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, so you can see there's, a wide array of different career options, different pathways that you can take after completion of the EPL program. So it's wonderful to hear where you're all at now. And I think Bailey is going to be asking the next question.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. And thanks, everyone, for those wonderful introductions. So the question that we'll open with is, can I talk a bit about your experience in the EPL program and how it has helped to prepare you for your present career? And I'll drop that in the chat as well.
I can get started with that one. I think the EPL program is really strong in giving us a very wide scope of all the things that we might, or all the topics that we might encounter in education policy. And I think what it does is it gives you a lot to think about. It gives you to think, I mean, it made me think about, do I care about implementation or the effects of the implementation? Do I want to work at the state, local level or the federal level, or research or legislation? Like, I mean, it really gives you a really, really broad scope, and you can use that to better understand how you feel like you will fit in policy. I will say I still feel like I'm learning where I fit in policy, even after graduation and after working at, before this role, I was a teacher for 7 years, and then now working on the district side. I'm still learning what might fit me best. And I'm still very much a student in work. So I think that it just really prompts a lot of those thoughtful questions about what is your path, and what you see yourself doing, and what brings you joy when you are studying these things.
I agree with everything Nicole said. And one thing that I would add, that the EPL program, I think my experience was mostly focused on networks. I think the EPL program helped not only connect me to my peers, but the professors and who they know. In working in the nonprofit education space, who you know, or in DC education, because it's a small but large space. It is very connected in who you know. And I think being a part of the EPL program, it really helped me just build those skills of connecting with folks, build those skills of connecting with the right people, who does what, how do you know the landscape, where does the power lie, things like that. Was really helpful. And having some of those people that came to speak to us in class serve as like many like mentors in a way. So the professors that are in front of you are very well connected. They want to help you. And I would say definitely take them out to coffee. They'll probably pay for it. But they're very helpful in your transition to your careers afterwards. And I think that's how it prepared me for my career. Being in operations, I do a little bit of everything. I talk to a little bit of everybody. I know a little everybody. So it was really helpful for me to begin to know, where do I go for this? Like, who do I talk to get this done? Do I send an email or do I pick up the phone? Like, you have to know those things in this space to get things done.
If I could build upon you both, I would definitely say the EPL program was pretty robust. You know, my experience was pretty good. I came into this space as a person that had never taught before. Of course, that gets the side eye in every conversation. My education journey is a bit different. I started off as the student board member on the Prince George's County Board of Education when I was 17. So still in high school, I had my first experience on education policy, but I found that I lacked the real behind the scene knowledge to understand the briefing books and the meetings that I was sitting through. So the EPL program for me provided a foundation to a wide array, like my previous cohort members spoke about, of opportunities to get involved in. I think additionally for me, I did things like a research assistantship where I was able to get connected with professors in other departments as well, Dr. Brian McGowan and Dr. Sherry Watkins, phenomenal people that gave me a different anchor into the program, as well as my, capstone experience. I sought out an opportunity with the Government Accountability Office to do some work with their education, workforce, and income security team. And it really helped diversify and anchor the degree down in a really robust and round way. And I think the EPL program provides you all of those opportunities, as well as the foundation to get into various avenues in education, as well as general policy, depending on how you use it and word it.
Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to check on one thing just because I agree with what everybody said. And I just want to provide a couple examples because, for example, Jamila said like that our professors are extremely well connected. I have the professors to thank for my current career and my internship. But just as an example, like everybody I work with knows Ruben and Ruben knows everybody I work with currently. And that's along with many professors, Pete Weber included, Dr. Jennifer Steele included, as well as several staff members at the public policy school at AU. So that's just an example, as well as two more specific things. Most of the work I do is currently project-based, and because so much of the multiple parts of the program are project-based, I came into my current position in which I was transitioning right out of teaching, and I kind of hit the ground running and was successful because of that. And then the third thing I'll say is data. Whether or not you take the second level data class, you're a leap ahead of your peers in whatever route you pursue. There are just many times in which, I love data, so I'm biased, but there have been multiple examples of times in which I was able to assist my peers, assist my supervisors, and just like take the lead on data projects with the background that I had because of this program. So just wanted to go a level deeper too on what everybody said, because that's just how true the quality of the everything I learned.
Thank you so much for all of your wonderful answers. And I have another question that kind of builds upon some of the things that you've already touched on. But we were curious, how did you see your career shift after graduating from the EPL program? And then within that, how did you navigate the job search process as your career was shifting? And you could touch on, any helpful resources or platforms that you used, best networking practices, anything like that would be really helpful. Let's see. Jeffrey, would you like to start off?
Sure. So I made the transition from the public service space. I previously worked with the Prince George's County Council as a constituent services specialist. How that translated into my current role at DC Public Schools. I utilized that public service and public facing work that I'd done before, and I now utilize that in working with our instructional superintendents, school principals, and various leaders within DCPS. Looking back at the question, I think honestly for me, the time after graduation was a bit rough. I am one of the younger people in my cohort, and I think that came with a little less years of work experience. So a lot of my cohort members were like, oh my God, I got this job. And I'm like, I'm still on LinkedIn searching through my searches that are tailored to this position in this location. But I will say that the job that's out there is for you and it will not pass you. So for me, look into all fields. As a person that was not in the education field, I felt like I was able to view how the degree could be used differently. So you could work in education for the military. There's education tech, there's data, there is school infrastructure. You're around things of school security now, education management, education law. I wish I was a little more tuned into what and how involved education is in our everyday life, because you really could utilize any prime exemplar of work that you do here and apply it to a job. And the best thing I can say is that educators' voices are the most important in the room when we talk about education. So use that. Your experience is valuable, and it's valuable to any organization, regardless of what the transition is.
And I can jump in. So I would say my career, it didn't shift a lot, but it did shift after I graduated because I had a baby. So I had a baby maybe 2 weeks. Like during the week we supposed to do our capstone project. I'm like, oh guys, I'm not coming. Like I'm literally in labor. So after that, I knew that I had to rely on my network to figure out what was my next move. Am I staying in my really gritty, boots on the ground nonprofit, or do I need to seek other options within the education space that fit my skill sets of being operation oriented, relationship oriented, and I relied on my network. So I began having like info sessions with people I have met along the way. While I was at my in my career, we did during COVID, I was a part of a first response family engagement team for Deputy Mayor of Education Paul Kine. And during that experience, I was able to meet people in DCPS, people in the charter world, people in different education nonprofits. And I met this gentleman at the Flamboyant Foundation. And we became very close. We ended up hosting just side meetings, partner meetings, our two organizations. And I called him one day and was like, hey, I need to talk about just next steps. Like, as you've seen me, work and this and that, what do you see me next? What do you say? What do you know? Who do you know? I want to get into college access. And he told me to write down 3 organizations. One of them is the organization I currently work for, which is so crazy because they ended up reaching out to me. And I'm not sure if it's something that he did or what, but they ended up reaching out to me with a position that I currently hold. So once again, your networks, it matters who's talking about you in the room, your sponsors. So navigating the job search for me, luckily, has been based on those strong relationships I have built and how I present myself. I would say as I was a student like you guys, and someone came to speak to me, I always had my camera on. I always had a question for them. I always made sure to give my business cards. Like when we were in person, my classmates was like, wait, she got business cards? Like she's ready. Like it was really about how can I spread my net as wide as possible? Because the wider your net, who those people are connected with is also part of your network.
I'll go ahead and jump in next. I had a little bit of a different experience. So I didn't really do too much networking until after I had graduated. I think at first it was just a little intimidating. So anyway, the program, taking a step back, helped me from another guest speaker learn that I wanted to work on the Hill. So I used one of my summers off from teaching to get an internship on the Hill. And then I left the classroom this past June. So I had to tell them I wasn't coming back, which was tough because I didn't have a job lined up yet. So I was a full-time job seeker, unemployed for 3 months. And that was really intense. It was scary. I mean, every day I'm looking at my finances. I'm looking at all the applications I've filled out and how many interview requests I'm getting. And you're taking it personally. You're like, something must be wrong with me. I'm not getting a job yet. It's a roller coaster. And that's not to say that you shouldn't go through it. I'm so glad that I did, but you just need a strong support system. You know, your friends, your family, just lean on them, tell them your insecurities, you have them reassure you, because every day does feel like a week and every week feels like a month when you're unemployed and searching for jobs. My day was pretty much structured like, apply for a job, go get coffee with someone, apply for another job, have an interview, repeat day after day. And it's really tiring. But as long as you know what you want and you keep reminding yourself of your goals, it will come to you eventually. I think I got my job I got coffee, hundreds of coffees, and some of them seemed meaningless. I felt like I wasn't getting new information from them. And then one thing paid off down the line. They showed me to a program that I didn't know about on the Hill. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion has this wonderful 3-step program to help resume review, mock interview. They flag for you, and that ended up being what got me my job. So it's just the little things that keep adding up after time. You just have to keep putting yourself out there and knowing that you don't take it personally if you get rejected from a copy. It's just because someone's busy. It's not because they're not interested. So you just have to be persistent and put yourself out there. And if you have your goal in mind, you will get there eventually.
Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, Nicole, did I cut you off?
Can I add just one more thing? I really feel Caitlin's like perseverance, because I also had to really persevere and rely on some of the grit that I had to force myself to have. Because I was still teaching when I was applying for jobs, and I would teach during the day and then at night look for jobs or apply on the weekends. And I applied to like 40 positions, and then I finally got my DCPS job. And it took me about 3 months to receive the email that they wanted me to have the job. But from the day I interviewed to the day I started, or when my background, what is it called? Your background like test of, I'm losing the background, whatever. By the time that I was cleared was like 4 months. So background check. Yes, thank you. So what I really suggest is like remembering that it's a process. It takes a long time. And if you want to work for the government, they're very slow. They're just slow, and it's just gonna take a long time. And you're gonna get one email, and you're gonna have to read that email 7 times to understand what they're talking about, to make sure you give the right paperwork in the right places. And if you mess up once, you feel like it's all gonna be over. Like it can be like that stressful when applying for the government, but it really is worth it in the end. And I will also say that I feel like I got a lot of feedback when I was starting to apply to jobs, because I had been a teacher, that I actually, what Jamila and Jeffrey were talking about, I actually experienced the opposite feedback about being a teacher. I had a lot of people say, I wish you had more experience. And I was like, but I'm a person in the classroom right now. I know what I'm talking about. And they're like, we need data. We need like data experience, or like management experience, or program management experience. And I'm like, well, I did this internship and I did these things. And, some people just didn't respect that as much as I thought they would, which is a disappointment, I think. But my current team that I work for, they really respected that I was a teacher, and they really appreciated that hands-on knowledge, because I think and one of my bosses said this to me in the interview process, and still says this to me today. He's like, when you're looking at the data, you're seeing real students and you're seeing real people. Whereas if you were not a teacher, you may not see those numbers as people. And that's very important when you're working in something as delicate as mental health. So that I just had to find my team, I guess, and I was in the right place for that.
Thank you so much. That was so informative for me as a current student as well. Moving to the next question, unless there are any thoughts remaining. What is something about your work that you really enjoy, and what is something that you find to be challenging?
I enjoy the students. This is my first student-facing job. I left a parent advocacy organization, which is what I worked while I was in the program, to the student-facing role, and to work with these high schoolers that are so different from me when I was in high school. But to understand where they are, to hear them, to just see their growth, to just be in their presence, is the best part of my job. Like, I enjoy talking to them. I enjoy helping them. I love when they're Miss Jamila me. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, I've never been a Miss anything. And the fact that they pay me so much respect, feels really good. I would say the challenges in my role is that sometimes when you're in an operations-based role, you pretty much get all the things. Like, all the things are on your plate. Like, it makes you feel like a catch-all tray of just stuff people don't want to do, including, you have things of your job. And currently, my organization, the role is just large. But luckily, with new leadership, we were able to advocate for more funding, to be able to get me two part-timers, to support with a large bulk of what I do, which is recruitment. One person, so I have a recruitment coordinator, and then I have an operations coordinator that helps me with more facilities and office management things while I work on process improvements. So that's what's most challenging, is just managing those pieces as well as the data. I am like one of the few people on my team that's like really into the data. And it's hard getting everyone to care as much as you do. So yeah, that's my glows and grows.
I had the same thoughts as Jamila. That's why I'm actually still teaching, is the kids, which is anyone else's teacher here obviously knows that's why we went into it. And it makes it really hard to leave. So I'd say, yeah, something I really enjoy is working with the kids. This is something that I'm just gonna build off of, but one thing I've like realized, like, they're doing the master's program and then still teaching, is that, it's been 2 years since I graduated. I feel like a lot of pressure in the beginning to like, okay, I have to move on now. I have to move on. Like, I've gotten this degree now. Like, I did this degree to like provide myself with more options. But one thing I've learned, or I keep reminding myself, and other people have told me as well, is that like, there's no like expiration date on this degree. And like, if anyone else has that same feeling, like, don't feel like pressured to, if you're teaching or doing something else, like, move on for the sake of like moving on. I'm definitely not someone who is very like, I need to ascend the rungs of my career. I'm more of just like, I want to find a job that I enjoy, that I can like grow at, obviously make enough money to survive and whatnot. So I was just thinking, like, building off that, like, don't feel like you have to do something right away. If you want to explore your options, like, I will probably be like 2 or 3 years out, and reassuring myself that it will still, you still have your degree, you still have those things there. And I just went really off topic, but something I find challenging is, anyone who's a teacher, we all kind of know, it's just the testing right now is something I'm finding really, it's nothing new, but I'm just irritated by it, because the rest of my year I feel like I'm just testing and not teaching. But
I'll jump in. Oh, sorry, Caitlin, go ahead.
Right. Okay. Go after me. I would say one of my favorite things is just meeting with different constituent groups that come in, or different groups from the district or just from education, who want to talk to you and meet. I mean, one of my favorite things about teaching is that I feel like I'm a lifelong learner, and I love just learning new information. So I have a variety of teaching groups that come up and want to meet with me, and I love just hearing the direct impact that they're having and I can have on their behalf, even though we're not working directly with kids anymore. I mean, even if it's not education, I just had a random group meet with me because I cover labor. I can basically take any meeting. Like, I had a meeting yesterday with the National Pinball Association. Just hearing what's going on in these industries and groups that I don't know much about, I really love. And there really aren't that many teachers on the Hill. So I love just mentioning that I am a former teacher when I'm working for these education groups. And the whole mood in the room just changes because there's so few of them. So if anyone else wants to join me, it really is important to have people making bills who have that impact and have that experience. And then for challenge, I mean, I don't know if anyone else can relate, but I'm still transitioning to working like with adults. I've never had an adults only job and just working a desk job. I mean, my eyes get strained. I got my blue light glasses, my eye drops. I'm at a screen a lot of the day. I'm not getting my steps in as much. So I'm still trying to transition to what that's like. I have my standing desk, but if anyone else has tips for that, I'm used to being on my feet all day. So it's a big challenge. It really is. It's change.
Yeah, I really appreciate, let me just say, I really appreciate all the perspectives here. A lot of people, we all have like really different roles. So mine is almost the opposite of Jamila's because I am so far removed. I went from like on the ground to 10,000 feet kind of. So I think that's what something I enjoy though, is because I get to work with so many different projects. A lot of ours are grant funded. So one of the reasons that if you're in DC and you know the reputation of consultants, it's not always like the most positive light, but I think something that what we do specifically in education, aside from like the federal contracting gig, is that there are many dreams that teachers have. I wish that our system looked like this. For me, it was just like, God, this curriculum, I could do this so much better. Like there's so many pie in the sky things that teachers and DCPS, for example, like districts do not have the capacity to do. And our role is to kind of move the lever on those, really think pie in the sky about what classrooms can look like, what the system can look like, and obviously how to make it more equitable. So that's something that I get to be around really smart people who have been at this for a really long time and have been part of moving the lever, both within DCPS and at the federal level. I think something that's challenging is sometimes I'm so in the like theoretical that I need to be grounded in what will this actually look like for teachers. And I do appreciate my colleagues in that sometimes I just have to be like, I'm going to insert myself as Miss Cashier and not as Ellie, and like in my role as a teacher, and tell you that that's like not going to work. Like that's just not, that's not going to be received well. I get your intention behind it. And that's one of the values of having the classroom experience and moving is like, okay, yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Let's move on, and so, yeah, there's working in the classroom has its pros and cons, and then jumping to 10,000 feet also has its glows and grows. We call them roses and thorns. So yeah, appreciate all the perspectives though, like I said.
I can share. Something that I enjoy about my work is the diversity of people that I get to work with. I enjoy working with or having the opportunity to interface with parents and teachers, school leaders. In my role, I am essentially a conduit that connects with our instructional superintendents, school leaders, and central office personnel. It can be a lot because, of course, if you're an educator, you know what it's like to have something come from the top down, and it is not always the easiest being the person communicating that news. But to have the opportunity to approach it from like a customer service or a constituent approach where, these people are having hard days, our school leaders go through enough. What is something that I can do to, lessen their load or their impact of this news is something that I enjoy. And then the same way when it comes to parent calls, sometimes we get outreach to our instructional superintendents over some pretty intense cases, and, parents are angry or people are angry. And I'm grateful that they get to talk to me at least, so I can give them a little bit of reassurance and hope that, the school, central office or DCPS is going to, make something move on their behalf or make some improvements. I think the difficult thing at times could just be the bureaucracy. DCPS is, just a large organization that reports to a larger organization, of course, the mayor and DC government. So it is just an intricate breakdown of what bureaucracy can look like. Thankfully, my role in DCPS, oh my goodness, Jamila, my role in DCPS reports directly to a chief. So my bureaucracy is cut down a lot less because I'm, reporting to someone that, can or serves on a high position.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's so interesting learning more about, the specifics of all of your roles. And we really appreciate you sharing. So thank you so much. Hi. So cute. So we're going to kind of get into one of our last questions. We do want to leave some time for questions from all of you if you have them towards the end. But one of our last questions is, what is one piece of advice that you can give to students as they are looking for careers or, programs to apply to after graduation?
I'm gonna hop in, sorry. Do not be intimidated by the salary. Shoot your shot. Go as high as you feel like you are capable and that you are going to brand your experience for. If it is worth doing a what is it, a case study, or typically for a lot of these jobs you have to go through a day in the life of the position. So if you get an interview for it, that means that you were qualified for it. And do not undervalue this degree. Shoot your shot. Go for what you feel like you deserve. And if the organization wants you there, it will all work out.
I'm going to add some context to my always negotiate. Let's say you apply for a job and they say, we're going to give you 95,000. And you're like, holy cow, that's the most money I've ever made in my whole entire life. I will immediately tell you, negotiate for 105,000. Like always, always, always negotiate. And the same thing goes for applying for a job that you may be making the same money, or you might be making a little bit less money. Always negotiate around $10,000 more, because the worst thing that they will tell you is, no, we're capped at, whatever salary, or even ask, what is your budget for this role? What is your budget range? And if they tell you, then provide, whatever your negotiation is within that range, of course, realistically. And also, if you're negotiating a government job, they do have a really, really tight levels for each role. So that's probably the only field that you probably are not going to get much wiggle room for negotiating. But for any other organization, I mean, you're literally leaving money on the table if you don't negotiate.
I would say similarly, number one, don't settle. I know when I was unemployed, I had some low days where I was close to getting offered a job with a nonprofit, which wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it sounded safe. The pay was good. I almost went for it. I'm really glad that I didn't, because I'm happy where I ended up doing what I really wanted to do, even though it took a little bit longer. And also just find an organization that values you as a teacher. I mean, teachers have so many transferable skills. Like, you can do anything really. And I remember one interview I had that they asked something about, well, do you have any professional experience? Like, they saw teaching on my resume and didn't count that. So I automatically knew they didn't value my skills and I should look elsewhere. So just be true to yourself. And like I said, it'll all work out in the end.
I think I think someone said earlier, and I forget who, so I'm sorry to not be giving them credit, but to cast a wide net, can't emphasize that enough. Just because you apply doesn't mean you need to take the job, just apply for it. I'm not saying like painstakingly, work through every single part of a cover letter. Like, don't, like, spend the appropriate amount of time and apply for it. The other thing, especially for interviews, once you're getting interviews, both the AU and wherever you went to undergrad, their career offices, no matter, like as an alumni, I was far outside of my graduation scope. Years after, I still go back to, oh my gosh, we have some friends, hello. You still have benefits to contact them and get help with your interview. I think that's another huge reason why I have my job now, is because I did a really intentional interview prep with folks at the career offices, both at AU and at my undergraduate institution. So those people have especially if you want to stay in DC, yes, work with the professors, also go to those career offices, because they also have this whole additional set of methods to help you prepare your materials. They asked, I just got rapid fire questions on my resume. Can you do this? Okay, that needs to be the first thing you say, like immediately for this job. Can you do that? Okay, this needs to be listed here. If you want this job, this is how you need to organize it. And it was just like one of the most productive 30 minutes of my entire life. So you pay for these services, use them, please. And yeah, cast a wide net.
I think people already touched on this a few times, but just like, this is what I would do actually if I'm job searching, is I would, once I figure out like what area or like I'm interested in doing, like find like an organization or like a company like you think you want to work for, and like either use your network and see if anyone knows someone there, or just like, on the website, like find someone, email them, like ask them for coffee, ask if they want to talk, just like find out like more information about the job and what you need to do to get there. I think that's like one of the most helpful advice I've received, and I would definitely plan on using that myself.
Jamila, I see that you raised your hand. Not sure if that was an accident.
It's Malachi in the car, but I agree with everything Ellie said. Casting a wide net. Also the resources. How are you preparing your materials? What are those materials that you're working on? Also looking at those job descriptions and tailoring. Like you have to tailor your things to what you're applying for. Some people, as an ops manager in my current role, I have helped hire people, and I'm like, wait a minute, you sent this to like a veterinarian office. Like, why do we have this now? So, those attention to detail, people do catch. And I think I'm out of time with my toddler right now.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Please share my information with the team. I appreciate this time with all of you guys.
Will do. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you. So thank you all for all of your answers. We want to leave some time if anybody has any questions that they want to ask. Feel free, you can unmute, or if you want to put them in the chat, that works as well. We have a couple more questions lined up just in case, but we would love to hear from you. And we want to make sure that all of your questions are answered as well. So go ahead. Carlos, sounds like you have a question. Go right ahead.
Yes, the question I have is particularly for Dr. Jacobson. I know that with this program, there's a emphasis for admission regarding having prior experience, for example, in the classroom or in a school. How has it been regarding students' progress in this program compared to when they don't have professional experience as when they do?
Thanks for the question, Carlos. And everyone who asks, if you don't mind just telling us if you're a current student or about a potential applicant and where you're calling from. Now I feel like I'm a DJ. Where are you calling from, Carlos?
Calling from the state of Florida, and I'm a potential applicant.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I think Jeffrey spoke to this a little bit earlier, but we certainly have folks who have not been teachers. In fact, I think increasingly, especially with our online cohorts, have been having more and more student applicants and students who are not coming to us from teaching, but something connected to education. So they have experience either in a nonprofit or tutoring or some other way. But we try to help you figure all that out anyway. And you get that in class. You can get that through site visits that we can help you arrange. But most importantly, you're going to hear the stories from your colleagues and you're going to absorb their experiences. There's no replacing, being in the classroom. I was a teacher and it really matters, but you're going to get what you need. Jeffrey, you have anything you would add?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it is something that will be valuable as an anchor once you get to the other side, having the foundation in education for sure. Once you are in the program, I would say that there are opportunities for internships, and whether that be through a tutoring organization or you get involved with education policy think tank, or even just DC public schools. I know that those things are there. And being in the EPL program and being a student, there are tons of opportunities that will be open to you, that if you feel like you need more of that policy focus or that focus within the education space, I know that, Dr. Jacobson and team and the career office or anywhere, even the graduate assistants, I know they sent out tons of opportunities over time so that, you could also maybe make some money and get paid while doing it. So, there's still time to get in that education space so that the degree can have the experiential factor as well.
Bailey, do you want to just briefly touch on that as a current student, kind of with that experience as well?
Sure, yeah. So I popped this in the chat, and thank you, Jeffrey, for having that kind of great foundation for the conversation. So I studied secondary education and math in my undergrad. I graduated in 2022, and then I started in this program that next fall. So I definitely went right into it. And I think, to kind of speak to what Jeffrey was saying, there are certainly so many opportunities while you're a student to still get involved in some capacity, even if it's not in that traditional kind of classroom wielding format. But I also think in my experience though, so far, in the 2 semesters that I've had within my cohort, having a variety of experiences where some of us have been in the classroom, some of us haven't been in the classroom, it really just adds to the depth of conversation that we're able to have in classes. And so I think it really just makes it more holistic, right? You kind of have all of these different points of entry. And so I think that's actually a really, really beautiful thing about the program and about the flexibility, especially around that kind of teaching experience component.
Thank you so much. Michelle, I see that you have your hand raised as well. If you would like to ask your question, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Do I need to introduce myself or can I ask my question? Okay. Okay, no problem. Hi, I'm Michelle. Excuse my voice. Allergy season is upon us and it's not my friend right now, so I apologize. So I just got into the program actually for American University. I'm very excited for that. Thank you. So my question is for those who were teachers. How did you balance out teaching while being in the program? Because I'm a planner, I'm planning it, and I'm high-key stressing right now. Sorry. So how are you able to balance being a full-time teacher while in this program?
Yeah, it's no joke. And I won't glaze over that. I think, Michelle, you said you're a planner and that's going to be really helpful. I think if your classes are X day, like for us, it was Tuesday, Thursday, you choose like at least one other day a week and you make that like another grad school day. Or for me, I also chose Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings, I didn't usually have anything going on. And so like, personally, like if Friday night is you're like, I don't do a lot on Friday night, or if Sunday afternoon is you're like, I don't usually do a lot from noon to 10 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, like that's your day. And obviously you adjust as needed to different deadlines. But if you are a planner scheduling things, like just like you schedule class, you schedule work from 9 to 5 every day, or 8 to 3:30 if you're in DC. If you're scheduling work, you also schedule studying, you also schedule writing very meticulously. And that's how you balance and like have a good social life and still do all of that. Like I can say I was able to do all of that, balance my responsibilities teaching, but I did schedule things very explicitly.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I can also add to that. I think a lot changed when being in person from being online. Of course, being online, you don't have to exert the amount of energy driving to campus. And I don't know, classes are being offered back in person.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of energy not necessarily related to actually being in class or doing homework that you have to think about if you're going to decide to be in the classroom. If you are virtually, there's a lot less physical energy exerted throughout your week. However, you're going to miss out on those in-person interactions, those small interactions that all of us missed over the pandemic. So I think it's just kind of like a pick your poison of like, can I deal with being really, really, really tired at the end of class after teaching all day and traveling to campus, because it is like all the way out there. And also then getting home and being like, what am I going to cook for dinner? Like your own personal things that you do for yourself, or taking on that or trading off for social things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That really helps, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question, Michelle, and for those great answers. Sam, I see your hand is raised. Feel free to go ahead and ask. And then I'll be sure to send everyone's emails in the group, in the chat as well. So if you have a question that either didn't get answered or if something comes up later, you'll have those points of contact. But go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This has been wicked informative, and I really appreciate it. All of your guys' time. So I'm a social studies teacher from Burlington, Vermont. And this is my first year teaching, actually, and I'm a recently admitted student to the on-campus program at American. My question would be, and this kind of piggybacks on the last question, I am looking to move to DC this summer, and in anticipation of this program, I'd like to move away from working in the classroom, but that's kind of what I know. You know, I'm a social studies teacher. So I guess I'm just looking for advice in terms of like finding jobs, a full-time position outside of the classroom in DC while I'm in this program. So any sort of tips or advice related to that?
You should start now. Start applying now. I know that even June seems like really far away, and then you also have the summer to get settled. I was lucky enough I applied for my current position, and like I said, it took a long time to get through the background check process. And then I was finally like ready to go, and then school year ended, and the following week I started my role. And that was like a really quick turnaround. Like I don't suggest everyone do that, but start applying now just to get your feet wet, like, and do those interviews and apply to those jobs that you're like, I'm not really sold on this, but I'm just going to do this interview as like a practice interview. And I highly suggest having your friends read your cover letter, have your friends read your resume, and yeah, look for jobs on campus. Like we said, really cast a broad net. And I also suggest applying to DCPS. We are looking for new, fresh faces in the office.
And even if you're not quite ready to apply yet, I would suggest creating a spreadsheet if that's the way you think. I love spreadsheets. I know when I started the program, I created a big spreadsheet, and each tab was like government jobs, nonprofits, think tanks. And every time an organization was mentioned, either online or from a friend or in the program, I would just add it to the list, just so when I was ready to apply, I had a long list of just places to start. And from there, I was able to add on to the business cards, the contact persons, their websites, and that really helped. So I had a starting place for where I wanted to apply.
Yeah, I think Alex put this in the chat, but if you need a backup plan, there's always teachers needed, DCPS needs things. It's, I don't know how many years you've been teaching, but it you could do the same thing while you're finishing your grad program and then look for something else where, it's always I hate to call it a backup plan, but if you don't find anything else.
I will just be transparent, Sam. DC is expensive. So I would say have a plan for when you move here for housing. I know a lot of resources are in the chat. I would say maybe start best with like the graduate research assistantship or something that's on campus, so that way you can have a connection to the university that'll place you on campus and you can get paid for it. Definitely look at those other opportunities that are full-time. I posted our DCPS central office chat or our job posting in the chat for any opportunities that you may see there. It is definitely viable, and I would suggest working full-time, or at least working while you're in the program. You don't have to, but I know it is possible if your setup module works for that. But definitely utilize these 18 months, or I'm not sure how long the program is, as a student to, dive into as much as you can. You are honestly extremely valuable just being a student, in terms of the opportunities you're open to, that after these 18 months close, it's a shut door until you go back to school again. So I would say start looking for ways to, support your housing in DC in connection to AU through those on-campus resources. Double that up with the job in the district, and, you look like you'll have a nice plan to sustain throughout the program.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of that.
Thank you so much, everyone. We are at time. But we will be sending out the emails of all of our panelists. So if you think of any questions, and Bailey just stuck them in the chat as well. So if you have any questions that pop up, feel free to reach out to them. And you can also reach out to me and Bailey and Dr. Jacobson as well for more program specific questions, or just to follow up. But really, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. Your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you spending it with us. Look forward to chatting with you again soon. Thank you again to all of our panelists. You were wonderful, and we really appreciate you coming back and chatting with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. Bye.